7,000 years ago, someone cut a hole in a human skull, and the patient lived, not once, not in one place. On every inhabited continent, ancient humans were performing brain surgery without anesthesia, without sterilization, without any of the tools we would consider essential. And their patients survived. This is not speculation. The skulls with bone regrowth prove it. The oldest surgery in human history was not performed in a hospital. It was performed by people we assumed knew nothing about medicine. They knew more than we gave them credit for. Today, on The Old Human. How did ancient humans survive without medicine? The answer is not what you expect. We have explored how they walked across continents, what they smoked, how they slept, how they handled hunger, what they did all day, and how they survived predators. But when they got injured, a broken bone, an infected wound, a fever that would not break, there were no hospitals, no antibiotics, no doctors. This is the story of prehistoric medicine, and it will change how you think about your own body. Modern medicine is barely 100 years old. Antibiotics were discovered in 1928, vaccines in 1796, germ theory in the 1860s. For 99.97% of human history, none of this existed. And yet here we are, 7 billion of us. Our ancestors survived infections, broken bones, childbirth, and epidemics without a single prescription for 300,000 years. How? Imagine getting a deep wound with no antiseptic cream, a broken leg with no hospital, a fever with no ibuprofen, an infected tooth with no dentist. This was not a rare emergency for ancient humans. It was life, and they faced it with nothing but plants, each other, and an extraordinary will to survive. How did ancient humans survive without medicine? Let us start with what they knew. Hunter-gatherer health was not primitive. It was sophisticated. Ancient humans accumulated medical knowledge over tens of thousands of years and passed it down orally, generation after generation. They knew which plants fought infection, which barks reduced pain, which roots settled fevers. No textbooks, no schools, just careful observation and memory. This was ancient medicine before medicine had a name. Aspirin comes from tree bark. Specifically, willow bark contains salicin, which your body converts into salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. Ancient humans knew this at least 5,000 years before Bayer patented it. Hippocrates described it in ancient Greece. Sumerian tablets from 4,000 years ago mention it. Ancient remedies were not random guessing. They were tested over millennia. Garlic is a natural antibiotic. Yarrow stops bleeding. Cinchona bark contains quinine, the cure for malaria. Ancient humans on different continents independently discovered these treatments without laboratories, without chemistry, without any of the tools we consider essential to medical discovery. They did it by watching, by trying, by remembering what worked. Prehistoric medicine was real medicine. An ancient healer knew hundreds of plant species. Which ones helped with pain, which ones fought infection, which ones induced sleep, which ones settled a stomach, which ones were deadly. This was a pharmacy carried entirely in memory, and when an elder died without passing their knowledge on, a library burned. Ancient medicine was fragile, and yet it survived for 300,000 years. Honey was used as an antiseptic on wounds thousands of years ago. Medical-grade honey is still used in hospitals today for antibiotic-resistant infections. Ancient humans figured this out without knowing what bacteria were. They simply observed that wounds treated with honey healed cleaner and faster. Ancient healing that modern medicine eventually circled back to. Spider webs were used as bandages. The silk is a natural clotting agent. Broken bones were set with wooden splints and leather straps. Archaeological evidence proves these treatments worked. Skeletons show healed fractures that would have been fatal without care. How did ancient humans survive? They were resourceful, observant, and unwilling to let each other die. A skeleton found with a healed femur tells a story. A broken femur means this person could not walk for months. They could not hunt. They could not gather. Someone fed them. Someone set the bone. Someone protected them from predators while they healed. A healed femur is not evidence of ancient medicine. It is evidence of ancient love. Trepanation, cutting a hole in the skull, is the oldest known surgical procedure. Skulls with carefully cut circular holes date back over 7,000 years. The edges of the holes show smooth bone regrowth. The patients lived. In some Neolithic sites, over 60% of trepanned skulls show healing. Ancient humans performed brain surgery, and they were good at it. Trepanation was invented independently on every inhabited continent. Peru, France, Algeria, India, China, Russia. It was not a fluke. It was a procedure that kept getting rediscovered because it worked. They used it for head injuries, seizures, and what we would now call intracranial pressure. Ancient medicine included surgery thousands of years before the first hospital was built. A trepanned skull with smooth, rounded bone edges around the hole. That bone regrew. The patient lived for years, possibly decades after the procedure. The person was cared for during recovery, fed, protected. Ancient remedies included brain surgery, and it was not barbaric. It was careful, practiced, and surprisingly effective. The ancient human gut was a fortress. Their microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in and on their bodies, was far more diverse and protective than ours. Fermented foods, constant soil exposure, no antibiotics. The immune system was trained by the world itself. Hunter-gatherer health was built from the ground up. Ancient children played in dirt. They ate food that had touched the earth. They drank water from streams. Their immune systems were calibrated by constant, gentle exposure. Modern children grow up in sterile environments and suffer skyrocketing rates of allergies, asthma, and autoimmune disorders. The immune system needs training. Ancient humans gave it a full education. We give it isolation. Every time we take an antibiotic, we carpet bomb our microbiome. Ancient humans never did this. Their gut bacteria were diverse, resilient, and protective, evolved alongside human biology for hundreds of thousands of years. We traded that ancient protection for modern convenience, and our bodies are still adapting to the loss. Ancient humans understood fever. They did not know about viruses or bacteria, but they recognized patterns. The body heats up, the illness peaks, the fever breaks, the person recovers. They learned to support this process. Cool cloths, rest, hydration, sweat lodges to help the body do what it was already trying to do. They were partners with their own biology. Sweat lodges and hot springs were used therapeutically across every continent. Herbs thrown on hot rocks released medicinal steam. The heat raised body temperature, helping fight infection. This was not mysticism. This was observation. How did ancient humans survive without medicine? They paid attention to what worked, and they kept doing it. Childbirth was the most dangerous moment in an ancient human's life. Maternal mortality was likely 1 to 3% per birth. Without modern obstetrics, without drugs, without emergency C-sections, women faced birth with nothing but other women, and they developed midwifery knowledge that was highly sophisticated, birthing positions that used gravity, herbs for pain and bleeding, techniques for breech births and complications. This knowledge was exclusively female, passed between generations of women, invisible to the male anthropologists who later dismissed ancient cultures as medically ignorant. Women kept each other alive through the most dangerous experience a human body can endure. This is ancient healing that history almost forgot. Let me tell you about a Neanderthal named Shanidar I, known as Nandi. He had a withered right arm, amputated above the elbow. He was blind in one eye. He was deaf in one ear. He had a limp from a healed leg fracture. Any one of these conditions in the wild means death. He lived to around 45 years old, ancient for any hominin. Someone fed Nandi for decades. Someone protected him from predators. Someone helped him walk when he could not walk alone. This was not a brief act of kindness after an injury. This was sustained, long-term care for a severely disabled individual who could not possibly have survived alone. Every skeleton with a healed severe injury tells the same story. They did not abandon their sick. Social care was medicine. Before hospitals, before doctors, before anything we would recognize as health care, the simple decision to not let someone die was the most powerful medical intervention in human history. Prehistoric medicine was not just plants and surgery. It was love made visible, and it worked. Ancient humans did not have therapists or antidepressants, but they had constant community, physical touch throughout the day, daily purpose. Every person contributed. Sunlight from dawn to dusk, physical movement built into every activity. No social media, no doom scrolling, no isolation. Many of the things we now treat as mental health disorders may have been far less common in the ancestral environment. Picture it. You wake up surrounded by people who have known you your entire life. You spend the day moving, talking, laughing, gathering food together. You eat together. You tell stories around the fire together. You sleep together. You are never alone, never isolated. How did ancient humans survive without medicine? They were never lonely, and those whose minds worked differently, they were not excluded. The person who noticed patterns others missed. The one who could sit alone for hours observing animal behavior. The one who remembered every plant and its uses. Neurodiversity was not a disorder, it was a survival advantage. The tribe that included everyone survived better than the tribe that did not. Many ancient remedies had no actual pharmacological effect. The herb did nothing, the chant did nothing, but the ritual, the belief, the shaman's authority, and the community gathered around, these created a powerful placebo response. The brain released real endorphins, real dopamine, real healing chemicals. The mind healed the body because it believed it would. The placebo effect is not fake. It produces measurable physical changes in the body. Brain scans show the same neural pathways activating from a placebo as from actual medication. Ancient humans built entire healing traditions around this effect. They did not call it placebo, they called it medicine, and it worked often enough to keep them doing it for thousands of years. Belief is a drug. Your ancestors knew this. When an elder they trusted said this plant will help you, and the entire community gathered to support the healing, and the ritual reinforced the belief, the body responded. How did ancient humans survive? They believed they would, and that belief, it turns out, was real medicine. Germ theory was proposed in the 1860s, 160 years ago. Before that, for 300,000 years, humans had no idea what caused disease. And we survived anyway. Antibiotics were discovered in 1928, the MRI machine in 1977. Every single tool you associate with modern medicine is younger than your great-grandparents. The human body is older than all of it. Your body is an extraordinary self-healing machine. The immune system identifies and destroys pathogens millions of times a day. Bone knits itself back together. Skin regenerates. The liver filters. The inflammation response isolates threats. Ancient humans trusted these systems because they had no choice, and the systems worked because they evolved over millions of years to work. You have a pharmacy inside you. Endorphins for pain. Adrenaline for emergencies. Melatonin for sleep. Dopamine for motivation. Oxytocin for bonding. Ancient humans did not need a prescription to access any of these. They lived in a way that triggered their release naturally. Movement, sunlight, community, purpose. This was prehistoric medicine, and it is still available for free. The ancient healing scoreboard is remarkable. Plant knowledge, 10 out of 10. Wound care, 9. Bone setting, 8. Social care, 10. Microbiome, 10. Mental health, 9. Placebo, 8. Total, 64 out of 70. They did not have antibiotics, but they had things we have almost completely lost. The modern healing scoreboard tells a different story. Pharmaceuticals, 10. Surgery, 10. Diagnostics, 10. These are miracles. But social care, 2. Microbiome, 2. Mental health, 5. Total, 42. We gained antibiotics and lost each other. We gained surgery and lost our gut bacteria. We gained MRI machines and lost the daily walk in the sun. Every medical advance came with a hidden cost. Before you panic about your cold, your ancestor survived a broken femur with no painkillers, a fever with no antibiotics, and a predator attack with no emergency room. You have a runny nose and a Netflix subscription. Somewhere in your DNA, your ancestors are watching you suffer through a mild headache, and they are very confused. Your ancestors survived childbirth and trepanation without Googling symptoms. You looked up why your stomach hurts, and now you are convinced you have 3 rare diseases and possibly a parasite. The internet has given us access to all of human medical knowledge. It has also given us the ability to convince ourselves we are dying of something we read about at 2 in the morning. Ancient humans survived. You will too. Let us update the chalkboard. 7 episodes. 7 ways ancient humans kept their bodies alive. 1 remaining. Clothing. We have walked their migrations, breathed their smoke, slept in their piles, felt their hunger, lived their days, faced their predators, and healed their wounds. Season 1 of The Old Human is nearly complete. In the Museum of Lost Human Medicine, willow bark and aspirin, the trepanned skull and the surgical kit, honey and spider webs beside sterile bandages, the Shanidar Neanderthal being fed, plaques reading Prehistoric medicine, still relevant. These are not ancient remedies that time proved wrong. They are ancient remedies that time proved right. The Old Human teaches us 3 things about ancient medicine. 1. Your body is a self-healing machine. Ancient humans trusted it. You should too. The immune system, the inflammation response, the clotting cascade, bone regeneration. These systems evolved over millions of years. Respect them, support them. They are still working. 2. The most powerful medicine in human history was other humans. Social care, community, touch, presence. These are not soft concepts. They are biological interventions with measurable effects on survival and recovery. Your ancestors knew this. We forgot. The cure for many modern ailments might be sitting across from someone who cares. 3. You are descended from people who survived without a single doctor for 300,000 years. Broken bones, fever, childbirth, infection, and they made it. They made it so you could be here. You are harder to kill than you think. Your body carries 300,000 years of survival adaptations. Trust it a little more. Next time on The Old Human, we have explored how they walked, what they smoked, how they slept, how they handled hunger, what they did all day, how they survived predators, and how they healed without medicine. 7 episodes, but here's a question that connects them all. Why did they start wearing clothes? For most of human history, we were naked. Then someone looked at an animal hide and thought, I am going to wear that. Why? When? And what did clothing do to the human body? 7 episodes on the body. The final episode of Season 1, what we put on it, and why. How clothing changed human evolution. How it let us survive the Ice Age. How it became status, identity, and armor. The story of the one invention every single person watching this is wearing right now. Next time on The Old Human. If you made it this far, you are descended from people who survived brain surgery with a stone tool. You come from survivors of broken femurs and infected wounds and childbirth without a doctor. You carry 300,000 years of resilience in your DNA. Subscribe. This is The Old Human. They survived so you could exist. The final episode of Season 1 is next. Clothing. The one thing you put on every morning without thinking about the 300,000 years of human history that made it possible.